Captain Elias Trent stepped off the transport shuttle and onto the polished floor of the Galactic assembly. The walls shimmered with the pale light of 1,000 stars, reflected in the glassy panels of the massive hall. Diplomats from dozens of planets moved gracefully around him, their long robes and glowing eyes creating an atmosphere of power and control. Humans were rare here, and he felt every gaze as a test, a challenge. He had dealt with alien politics before. He had negotiated peace between warring planets and walked through storms of betrayal, but today felt different. Today he was not here for treaties or credits. He was here for something far more delicate. The daughter of the alien diplomat Leora KYH had been suffering for years. No one had explained why, no one had done anything. Other diplomats whispered quietly, blaming her behavior on fragile alien nerves, or delicate upbringing. Elias did not believe it. He had seen enough human and alien suffering to recognize the signs. Something was wrong and it was not natural. He had watched her from a distance during the assembly's formal events. Leora moved like a shadow, avoiding attention, her large violet eyes darting nervously at every approaching figure. Her hands were always clenched, fingers twisting in ways that seemed more than habit. Her hair, long and silver with faint streaks of violet, always smelled faintly metallic, a detail that made Elias's stomach tighten. Elias did not like rules that stopped people from being helped. Humans were not content with waiting for someone else to fix a problem. He had grown up on a mining colony, a place where danger was constant and waiting often meant death. Courage, action, and clever thinking were not just virtues, they were survival. He studied the layout of the assembly carefully. Security drones hovered near every doorway, their scanners humming faintly. Alien guards with 6 arms and armor plated like stone walked in precise lines. To get close to Leora he would need to blend in, move with purpose and stay calm. One wrong move and the opportunity would vanish. Elias walked toward the ornamental fountain in the center of the hall, a human gesture that would not raise suspicion. He reminded himself to breathe, to keep his heartbeat steady. He observed her again, noticing that whenever someone approached, she lowered her gaze as if hiding from the entire world. He imagined what it must feel like, trapped in a place where no one truly cared. Humans could not ignore suffering. Elias had learned this from his own childhood, from moments when he had stepped into danger to save someone else's life. It did not matter if the being was alien or human, pain was pain and fear was universal. His mind raced with plans. How could he reach her safely? How could he discover what was causing her torment? A small detail caught his attention. When Leora passed a mirrored wall, she paused for a fraction of a second, as if afraid to see her own reflection. Her fingers twitched involuntarily, and she glanced at a corner of the hall as if expecting someone to be there. Elias recognized the signs from old intelligence files. Someone or something was controlling her, even subtly. He needed more than observation. He needed access and he needed trust. Building trust with an alien, especially one who had been harmed or restrained for years, was not easy. Humans often relied on empathy and action where words failed. Elias thought of his own grandfather, a man who had once fixed a starship engine with nothing but scraps and determination. If a human could rebuild a dying machine in space, surely one could free a trapped mind. The assembly schedule left little room for error. There would be ceremonial duties, dinner sessions, and meetings that could move anywhere at any moment. But he noticed a rare window. Leora would have to attend a grooming ritual later in the evening. Hair in her culture was sacred. She would be alone with a stylist, and that stylist could be him, if he could convince her to trust him. Elias's chest tightened. One misstep could mean exposure, humiliation, or worse, the loss of an opportunity to help her entirely. But humans did not shy away from impossible odds. They thrived in them. He recalled a mission on the edge of the vortex expanse, where his team had faced overwhelming enemy fire. The odds had been no better than they were now, and yet they had succeeded, relying on courage, quick thinking, and unwillingness to give up. He approached a low balcony overlooking the ceremonial chambers and waited. Leora entered, gliding past with the same nervous precision he had seen before. For a moment, she paused near a column and touched her hair reflexively. Elias's eyes narrowed. Something was hidden there. A signal. A restraint. He could feel it in his bones. Elias clenched his fists, his resolve solidifying. Humans had survived, evolved, and thrived in the most hostile conditions imaginable. This was just another challenge, another test of intelligence and courage. If he could reach her, if he could uncover what had tormented her for years, it would be a victory not only for Leora but for the human spirit itself. A distant bell rang, signaling the start of the evening rituals. The corridors would soon fill with diplomats, and the chance would slip away if he did not act. Elias's eyes followed Leora as she disappeared into a side chamber meant for private grooming. His mind raced with possibilities, strategies, and the tools he would need. The metallic scent of her hair lingered in the air. He knew that behind her calm alien exterior, a storm of fear and hope battled silently. One human could make a difference. One human could change everything. And Elias Trent was that human. Elias waited outside the small chamber, listening to the faint hum of alien machinery and the soft footsteps of attendants. The door was etched with delicate silver patterns that glowed faintly under the assembly lights, a design meant to signal wealth and authority. Humans rarely appreciated such subtle artistry, but Elias noticed it. Every detail mattered. Every pattern, every reflection could hide a secret. Inside, Leora sat on a low chair, her hair cascading over her shoulders like a river of silver and violet. She seemed calm at first glance, but Elias had studied her movements. Her fingers trembled slightly as they rested on her lap. Her breathing was shallow, measured, careful, as if she had learned to contain every sign of fear in a world that punished weakness. He pushed open the door quietly, bowing slightly in the formal style required of human visitors in alien chambers. Leora flinched, then relaxed just a fraction. Humans did not usually intrude, and she was not used to being treated with kindness. "Good evening," he said simply. His voice was calm but firm, carrying the confidence that humans often relied on when no one else dared act. "I'm Elias Trent. I'm here to help." Leora's violet eyes widened. She didn't speak immediately. In the assembly, speaking without permission was dangerous. Her silence was cautious, but it was also a spark of trust. She hadn't fled. That was already unusual. Elias moved closer, careful not to startle her. "I know something is wrong," he said quietly. "I can feel it. You've been hiding something and I want to help you." Her lips parted slightly, then pressed together again. A faint metallic scent filled the air, the same smell he had noticed from afar. Elias's jaw tightened. Humans had survived countless crises because they observed, analyzed, and acted without waiting for permission. He would not let fear stop him now. He gently lifted a strand of her hair. Underneath, near the scalp, a thin filament glimmered, a small thread of technology almost invisible. Elias froze for a second, then leaned closer to study it. It was delicate but cruel, a neurosuppressive implant designed to control her thoughts, dampen her emotions, and ensure obedience. Leora flinched. "Please," she whispered, voice trembling. Her hands clenched in her lap, knuckles white. No one can remove it. They will know. They will punish me." Elias shook his head. "Humans don't give up when the odds are impossible. You've endured this long, I'll make sure it ends today." He set to work carefully. Removing the filament would require precision and knowledge of alien biology. One wrong move and it could sever neural pathways, paralyze her, or worse. Elias's mind raced through everything he knew: biotech files, old intelligence reports, medical schematics from other species. Humans survived and thrived because they could think under pressure, solve impossible problems, and act boldly when failure was fatal. He fashioned a small tool from a standard human multi-tool and a modified graviton tweezers he had carried in his kit for emergencies. Nothing about this tool was alien. Its simplicity was its strength. Humans often succeeded where technology alone failed because they combined intelligence with courage. "Try to relax," he said gently. "I'll be careful. You're stronger than they ever believed." Leora's violet eyes glistened. For a moment, hope battled fear across her face. She nodded slightly, trusting him enough to stay still. Trust was rare in her world, where most beings obeyed out of fear or control. Humans, Elias had learned, earned trust by action, not intimidation. He began the delicate extraction. Each movement was precise, measured. The filament was embedded deeper than expected, entwined with neural strands that carried not only instructions but a small fraction of her emotions. Removing it was not just a technical challenge, it was moral. One misstep, and the human courage he relied upon could become catastrophic failure. As he worked, Leora's body tensed, her breathing shallow. She tried to distract herself, muttering phrases in her native tongue, small words meant to anchor her mind against panic. Elias noticed and smiled faintly. Humans survived because they stayed calm in chaos. He mirrored that focus for her, his hands steady, his mind sharp. Then it happened. The filament shifted unexpectedly, tugging at her neural pathways. Leora cried out, a sharp sound that echoed through the chamber. Elias held her gently, countering the feedback with a steady application of pressure and a quick adjustment of the tweezers. His training, his instinct, his courage, all of it, kept the moment from becoming disaster. Minutes stretched like hours. Sweat beaded on Elias's forehead, but he did not falter. Finally the last thread was free. Leora gasped, her first full breath of liberation in years. Her hands shook, but the fear in her eyes was mingled now with amazement. She had survived. He had succeeded. But the danger was far from over. The moment of extraction had triggered alarms in the hidden surveillance system. Somewhere deep in the assembly, sensors had detected unauthorized interference with the neuroimplant network. Every diplomat, every security drone would soon be alerted. The room's doors could open at any second, and their secret freedom could be discovered. Elias looked at Leora. "We don't have much time. They will notice soon." Her eyes, wide with shock and hope, met his. She nodded. Despite fear, she trusted him completely. Human courage had given her a chance to live freely for the first time in her life. Outside the chamber, faint mechanical clicks echoed, a reminder that the assembly was never truly asleep. Elias tightened his grip on the tool, ready for whatever came next. Human ingenuity and bravery had carried them this far, but the real challenge, the escape, the revelation, was only beginning. Elias glanced at Leora, her wide violet eyes still shimmering with fear and wonder. The neuroimplant had been removed, but the danger had only begun. The assembly's security systems were designed to detect even the slightest anomaly in the biosignatures of delegates. One wrong step, one delay, and they would be surrounded, captured, or worse. "We have to move," he whispered. "I know a way to the lower levels. Few humans, or aliens, ever go there. It's dangerous, but it's the only chance we have." Leora's hands trembled, but she nodded. Her trust in him was absolute now, and she had little choice. Fear still coursed through her veins, but hope sparked brighter than it had in years. Elias had seen that spark before, in miners trapped in collapsing tunnels, in soldiers facing impossible odds, in explorers stranded on hostile worlds. Humans had always thrived where others froze. They slipped into a narrow corridor, shadows stretching across the polished walls. Elias led the way, careful to avoid security drones patrolling the halls. Each drone's sensors scanned for movement and heat signatures. Humans had evolved to improvise in crises. Elias pressed a small device against the wall, a human-engineered dampener that confused the sensors long enough for them to pass. He felt the familiar surge of adrenaline. Danger sharpened the mind. Leora followed closely, her breath quick but controlled. The metallic scent of her hair lingered, a reminder of what had been removed and the silent chains that had bound her. "I never imagined someone would care," she said quietly, almost to herself. "No one ever looked beyond the rules." Elias gave a short, encouraging nod. "Humans act because we can't stand to watch suffering. Courage isn't waiting for permission, it's doing what's right even when it's impossible." They reached a junction. Two doors, both heavily reinforced, blocked their path. One led to the main assembly chamber, the other to the lower maintenance tunnels. The latter was dark, narrow, and filled with old alien machinery. Most delegates avoided it. It was considered unsafe, even disrespectful. "Perfect." Elias pushed the door open. The air smelled of ozone and machine oil, strange to Leora's senses. Sparks danced from overhead wires and old control panels flickered dimly. Humans thrived in environments like this. Improvisation and intelligence were tools as important as courage. "This way," Elias said, stepping into the tunnel. "Keep low and quiet. Every step counts." As they moved, the building seemed alive with sound. Distant echoes of conversation, mechanical hums, the occasional beep from security monitors. Elias's mind raced, calculating each risk, every movement. Leora followed, clinging to his understanding that humans never gave up, even in impossible situations. A sudden mechanical hiss froze them both. A small patrol drone rounded the corner, its sensors locking onto their biosignatures. Leora's hands went to her face instinctively, panic rising. Elias acted instantly. He pulled a compact device from his belt, a miniature magnetic pulse emitter. With a quick press, the drone circuit sparked and died. It toppled silently, harmless. "You see," he whispered. "Humans don't just survive. We adapt, we outthink, we act." They pressed on, deeper into the tunnels. The air grew colder, the lights dimmer. Strange alien glyphs glowed faintly along the walls, remnants of old security systems long abandoned. Elias's eyes scanned them carefully. One misstep, one misread glyph could trigger an alarm. But humans had survived harsher conditions with far less. This was nothing. Halfway through the tunnel, they encountered a sealed maintenance hatch. Leora froze, fear threatening to slow her steps. Elias examined the lock. Alien biokeys were sophisticated, scanners that matched genetic material, neural patterns, and even emotional states. Most humans would have given up. Elias smiled faintly. Humans excelled where technology intimidated others. With steady hands, he modified a small interface panel using components from his belt kit. He bypassed the neural scan by simulating Leora's baseline readings. Her fear, hope, and pulse perfectly mirrored in the device. The lock clicked open. Leora stared in awe. How did you do that? Elias shrugged. Humans find solutions. We don't wait for others to tell us what's possible. The hatch opened to a narrow shaft leading to the service levels of the assembly, areas rarely used except for maintenance crews. The air smelled faintly metallic, thick with dust and the tang of electricity. Pipes ran along the walls, old conduits humbly carrying energy throughout the building. It was messy, dangerous, but perfect. They could move unseen. As they climbed down, distant alarms began to sound, soft at first, then louder. Someone had discovered anomalies in the main floors. Their extraction of the neuroimplant had triggered hidden security protocols. Time was slipping away. Elias felt the familiar rush of focus. Humans thrived under pressure. Impossible odds sharpened instincts. Every step, every breath counted. Leora's grip on his arm tightened, not from fear alone, but from trust, from belief that humans could achieve the extraordinary. At the bottom of the shaft, they emerged into a dimly lit corridor. A faint red glow pulsed from the far end. Leora whispered, "They will catch us, won't they?" Elias smiled, his jaw set firm. "Not if we're clever. Humans never lose because we panic. We win because we act when others freeze." And at that moment, something shifted in Leora. The fear in her eyes mingled with something new, hope. For the first time, she realized that her torment, her silence, had been broken by a human willing to risk everything. The red glow ahead was not just light, it was the signal of another security checkpoint. They had to move fast. One wrong move and all hope would vanish. But Elias had a plan. A human plan. And humans never left a challenge unsolved. The corridor ahead was narrow, dimly lit, and lined with alien scanners pulsing faint red lights. Each scanner monitored biosignatures, neural activity, and even emotional responses. One misstep would trigger alarms throughout the assembly. Elias studied the setup, his mind working at full speed. Humans survived impossible odds because they could think faster than machines, act smarter than rules, and take risks others refused to consider. Leora glanced at him, her violet eyes wide with fear and anticipation. "How do we get past this?" she whispered. Elias crouched low, examining the scanner panels. "We don't go through them the normal way. Humans improvise." He pulled a small device from his belt, a compact neural camouflager he had engineered for emergencies on distant mining colonies. It could mimic biosignatures, creating a short window of invisibility to the sensors. He attached it to Leora first, adjusting its settings with meticulous care. She stiffened as a faint vibration ran through her body. "It will feel strange for a few seconds," he said. "But it will work. Trust me." Leora took a shaky breath and nodded. Elias activated his own device. The corridor seemed to shift. The red scanners flickered as the camouflager scrambled their readings. For a moment it was like walking through a ghost world. Every shadow, every pulse of light held danger, but human courage kept them moving. Halfway across, a new challenge appeared. A patrol drone turned the corner unexpectedly. Its sensors were more advanced than the ones Elias had disabled before. Its many eyes scanned for irregularities and its weapons were active. Elias froze for a heartbeat, then acted. He tapped a sequence on the camouflager, sending a burst of electromagnetic interference directly at the drone. Sparks flew as the drone's systems malfunctioned. It swerved and crashed noisily against the wall, but Elias and Leora were already past it, moving like shadows. "You're incredible," Leora whispered, her fear momentarily replaced with awe. "I've never seen anyone, any human, do something like this." Elias smiled faintly. "We survive because we have to. We act when others freeze." The corridor ended in a reinforced door, the last barrier before the assembly's central control chamber. Beyond that room lay the truth, the hidden records of who had implanted Leora, who had profited from her suffering, and who might try to reclaim control. Elias examined the lock. Alien biometrics, multiple authorization layers, psychic interference sensors. A normal intruder would have given up instantly. Humans thrived where others failed. He produced a compact interface panel and began to hack the system. His fingers moved swiftly, guided by years of experience and raw ingenuity. "Almost there," he muttered, sweat beading on his forehead. Leora watched, holding her breath. "If you fail," she began, but Elias shook his head. "We don't fail. Humans don't fail when it matters most." The lock clicked. The door slid open with a hiss. They stepped inside. The central chamber was vast, filled with holographic displays and glowing alien script. Dozens of high-ranking diplomats were present, arguing about trade disputes, security measures, and political alliances. None noticed the two humans entering through a maintenance shaft, an impossible intrusion, yet here they were. Elias guided Leora to the main console. "This is where we expose them," he said. "This is where you take control of your life, and their lies." Leora hesitated. Her hands hovered over the interface. Memories of years of fear and control flashed through her mind. The weight of generations pressed on her shoulders. Then she looked at Elias, the human who had freed her, who had risked everything, and felt something new: courage. Not forced, not artificial, but real. She activated the console. Streams of data flowed before her eyes. Records of implants, political manipulation, and threats against alien delegations across multiple systems. Her hands moved steadily as she compiled the evidence. The room's chatter grew quiet. Diplomats turned, eyes widening as they recognized the authority in her voice, the authority they had long suppressed. Elias stood behind her, ready to intervene, but he did not need to. Leora had been silenced for too long. Now human courage had ignited hers. She spoke clearly, confidently, exposing the conspiracy to the entire assembly. "For years I was controlled, silenced, and hidden," she said. "Those responsible believed they could dictate my life. They were wrong." Gasps echoed through the chamber. Security drones froze mid-scan, confused by the human-engineered signals Elias had deployed. Alien guards hesitated, unsure how to react. One by one, delegates recognized the truth, their expressions shifting from disbelief to shock. Elias exhaled. Humans had survived wars, collapses, and betrayals because they acted decisively and courageously. Today was no different. They had turned impossible odds into triumph. Leora finished her report, standing tall and unafraid. She looked at Elias. "I never thought I could be free. You gave me that." Elias shook his head, smiling. "You always could. I just reminded you." The assembly erupted in discussion, but now it was different. Human ingenuity had not only saved one life, it had toppled a corrupt system, revealed the truth, and shifted the balance of power. Alien diplomats whispered, some with admiration, some with fear. Leora turned to Elias. "What happens now?" Elias's eyes scanned the room, calm and unwavering. "Now, you lead. You speak. You live. And humanity, humans keep proving what we always have. Courage, intelligence, and heart can overcome even the impossible." For the first time, Leora smiled freely. Fear had been replaced by determination, oppression by hope. Human courage had not only freed her body but awakened her spirit. And somewhere deep in the assembly, the people who had plotted against her realized that no machine, no rule, and no fear could ever match the force of a human willing to act. The assembly had never seen anything like it. Leora Kewich, once silent, fearful, and restrained by generations of cruelty, now stood at the central podium, her violet eyes blazing. Around her, holographic projections displayed evidence of conspiracies, illegal implants, and manipulations that had held entire political systems in check. Diplomats froze, unable to look away. The balance of power in the galaxy teetered, and one human had made it possible. Elias Trent watched from the side, heart steady despite the tension. Every step, every move that had led them here had been perilous. He had faced impossible odds on countless worlds, but this, freeing a life, exposing centuries of corruption, was more than politics or battle. It was humanity in action. Courage, intelligence, and determination, not firepower, not authority, had won the day. Leora's hands shook slightly as she tapped the console, sending the compiled records across the assembly's network. Holographic screens flickered to life, showing videos, communications, and biodata proving the truth of what she had suffered. Gasps rippled across the room. Some alien delegates whispered frantic denials, while others recoiled in shock, realizing they had been deceived. One senior diplomat, a towering figure with crystalline skin, stepped forward, voice trembling. How did you do this?" His tone carried awe, fear, and anger all at once. Leora met his gaze steadily. "I was not alone. A human reminded me that courage matters. A human acted when no one else dared. I have been silenced for too long. No one controls me now. The room fell silent. Every eye was on the human behind her, Elias, who had risked everything to reach her. He did not boast or claim credit. Humans rarely did. Their victories were measured by lives saved, injustices corrected, and hope restored, not applause. Whispers turned into murmurs, then arguments as the diplomats debated what had been revealed. Many had built careers on control and manipulation. Their power crumbled in real time. Others, impressed and inspired, began to call for reform, for oversight, for justice. Leora's voice carried, amplified not just by technology but by truth and human courage. Elias moved closer to her. "They'll try to challenge it," he said quietly. "But you've shown them that fear no longer works. Humans never accept oppression quietly." Leora nodded. Her shoulders straightened, her voice growing firmer. "I will lead the assembly in reform. I will dismantle the systems that enslaved me and others. We cannot allow this to continue anywhere." Her words were not just her own, they carried the weight of generations, now amplified by the spark Elias had ignited. A sudden alarm echoed through the chamber. Security drones, programmed to defend the assembly, began scanning aggressively. Some of the conspirators had attempted to activate emergency lockdowns. For a moment, chaos threatened to erupt. Elias acted instantly. He tapped his wrist device, sending a countersignal that temporarily disabled the drones. Sparks flew, red lights flashed, and alien technicians scrambled to regain control. One human engineer's improvisation, a small device, a simple solution, had once again outsmarted technology designed to enforce control. Leora looked at him, eyes wide. "You saved me again," she said softly. He shook his head. "You saved yourself. I just made it possible. Humans survive because we act when the impossible appears. We do what others can't, or won't." The room fell into order slowly. Delegates who had once doubted her authority began to step aside, intimidated by the undeniable proof and the resolve in her stance. Leora was no longer a victim. She was a symbol of resistance, a living testament to courage, and a reminder that the right action could shatter centuries of oppression. Later, as the assembly emptied and calmer conversations replaced frantic whispers, Elias and Leora walked through the corridors together. For the first time, Leora moved without fear. Each step felt heavier with freedom, lighter with possibility. "I never imagined I could feel this," she admitted. "For years I thought my life was controlled by fear and obedience. Now, it feels like I can finally breathe." Elias smiled. Humans survived in ways others could not because they could endure, act, and inspire simultaneously. You've earned that feeling. Don't let anyone take it away. Remember this, courage isn't about being fearless. It's about acting even when fear is all you know. They reached the balcony overlooking the starlit city below. The twin suns of Virelia set in streaks of violet and gold across the sky. Leora looked out, the wind lifting her hair, free at last. "I will change things," she said almost to herself. "Not just for me but for everyone who suffered like I did." Elias nodded. "And the galaxy will remember that. Humans make a difference, not because we are invincible but because we refuse to let injustice stand." The twin suns dipped behind the horizon. Shadows stretched long, but inside, Leora's light had grown. Humanity had not only freed one life but sparked a wave of hope across systems. One human had changed the course of history through courage, intelligence, and morality. And somewhere, in the quiet hum of the assembly, Elias allowed himself a rare smile. The galaxy had witnessed what humans always knew. Impossible odds are never final. Determined hearts, clever minds, and bold actions could rewrite fate. Leora turned to him, eyes full of gratitude and awe. "Thank you, Elias. You gave me my life back." Elias shook his head as he always did. "You never lost it. You just needed someone to remind you how strong you are. That's what humans do." And in that moment, under alien stars and human courage, a new chapter began. Freedom forged not by weapons or laws, but by heart, intelligence, and unwavering determination. A true testament to the human spirit.